right.
Roll call.
Somebody's coming in. Ah, there he is. Casually late, no problem. Roll call.
Ramey?
Is that me or is that Matt? Here.
Snyder?
Is that me or is that Matt?
You're good.
I'm here?
You're good.
Okay.
Jankowski? Martini?
Here.
Newman?
Here.
Jennings?
Here.
Sarver?
Here.
So are we just missing?
Randy, here.
Jamie's
We're
here.
just missing Rob, correct? All right. Motion to excuse Rob.
Second.
and me, brother.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Agenda additions. You guys have anything that you need to add to the agenda? We got some stuff to take care of today. I don't know if you have any additional specific items.
I'm pulling up the agenda now, but I just wanted to talk about, I got some information about the septic on there, septic tanks and contractors.
Okay, so we'll just cover that under 10F.
Okay.
We have a septic field update, so no need to change. All right. So any other changes? I think we're good. All right. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Oh, motion to approve the agenda. It's not amended though. It's good.
So.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes.
Move we
I
approve
was
the
not here,
minutes.
so.
I move we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Call to the public. You're just visiting. We're good. We're good to you, Jared. All right.
You know there's the column
I
there?
get you.
Yeah.
All right. We'll close the call to the public and we'll move on to new business, year-end report with Progressive. Come on up to the old microphone.
So I passed out two documents. I'll go over this first one here, which is like a chart table,
Yep.
front and back. This is just how we keep track of the budgeted amounts for aquatic herbicide use and contractor use on the lake. So the page one, top right, is the beginning balance of $75,000, which was budgeted for aquatic herbicides, permit application fees, stuff like that. And as you go down the table, it tells you work that was done, survey dates, treatment dates, everything that was targeted, the herbicides used, how much they cost, the rate in acres. And on the second page, this year, just over $49,000 was invoiced, remaining about $25,506.46 for the budgeted amount of $75,000 remainder for this season for aquatic herbicides. If there's any questions specifically about this project work journal, I can help answer them. Otherwise, I can move on to the year-end report. And then, yeah, the second document is the year-end water quality and plant control summary that my group at Progressive provided for this season's assessment of the lake and also the plant control oversight. The first couple pages just introduces the current Water Management Board, all the contractors and consultants on the project. Page one gets into a little in-depth about lake water quality and kind of defining what lake water quality is. Page 2 and 3 discuss different parameters that are sampled for or tested for within the lake and how we use those to assess lake water quality. Page 4 then gets into the sampling results and discussion. So we sampled twice, one in the spring during spring turnover when the lake is fully mixed, so water temperature is uniform from top to bottom, dissolved oxygen is uniform. That gives us an idea of what phosphorus is like throughout the entire water column. Phosphorus levels in the lake during the spring were all below detection or low. During the summer when the lake is stratified, your thermocline, or where your water temperature decreases drastically with depth, sets up around 20 feet. Below the thermocline, you have oxygen depletion or anoxic conditions, so a lack of oxygen. So anything below about 20 feet in the lake, it's pretty much void of oxygen. So your fishery is really limited to that upper 20 feet of water. Because of that and the temperatures, the lake supports a warm water fishery. Cool water species like pike and walleye they could live in the lake, they're just not going to thrive very well. They're not going to have overabundance reproduction and stuff like that. Cold water species, trout, cisco, are just not going to survive within the lake, which is kind of a known and pretty common for upper Midwest inland lakes. Phosphorus levels below thermocline, the very bottom samples were all high, if not elevated significantly, basically just showing that there's phosphorus release from the bottom sediments under anoxic conditions. The sediments release phosphorus back into the water. But because it's just a small portion of the lake's total volume at that very bottom layer of water, it's not a significant loading source to Wolverine Lake at this time.
Any thoughts about it, if we aerate things, if we ever do that again, if we'll take the 665 micrograms per liter and bring it up to the top?
Yeah, so the aeration, there's not a strong data set to show that aeration is overly effective for inland lakes, especially the laminar flow aeration. There's some aeration systems that can provide benefit, but they're very, very costly. And for a project of this size, you're looking at anywhere from $500,000 to several $1 million, because that aeration system basically takes the bottom water, takes it out of the lake, cools it down, oxygenates it in tanks, and then re-injects it back into the bottom water. Aeration that are basically just bubblers at the bottom of the lake, there's not much data to support using those. The 665 phosphorus is very high for that bottom water sample that was connected in the south arm there. And there's several options that can be utilized in the form of lanthanum and bentonite clays. They help strip phosphorus from the water column. They actually create kind of a sediment cap
Or
on the
just
bottom
leave
water.
it there, because it's down deep, right?
Yeah, so it'll strip the phosphorus that's in the water, and then also will cap the sediments to a degree, preventing that phosphorus pump.
Okay, thank you.
That can be explored just to reduce that overall number. But again, since it's that very lower strata, and you're talking probably the bottom 5 to 10 feet of water right before the lake bottom there, it's not necessarily contributing a ton of phosphorus into the overall water column of the lake.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The Wolverine Lake's chlorophyll was somewhat elevated in the spring. Secchi was rather low. Interestingly, in the summer, this summer at least, Secchi transparency went up and chlorophyll was non-detect, which is a sign of high clarity and good water quality. This could be attributed to several factors, one being larger presence of zebra mussels in the lake this year, which basically consume chlorophyll, clearing up the water and reducing that value. So if you get to the next page, we've been keeping track of the trophic state index values.
I guess
for the
just a
lake.
quick question before we move on,
Yep.
because I think we asked the same question last year, but it's not, I don't think it's captured in these other charts. I mean, this data over time, year over year versus throughout a single year, can we get this as a function of what it was previous years? This chart?
Which chart? That chart?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give a historical chart.
Yeah.
Just including that.
Yeah,
I think
because
we have it.
without the context of the past, it's hard to make sense of it in my mind, where the other
Yep.
charts, we get to see some trends on what it looks like over time, so there's some variation within the year, but is this normal variation? Is 665, is it the first time we've ever seen that?
Right.
I think getting all of the data that you have and you collect,
Mhm.
this data is obviously important for understanding the water quality, but how does that look year over year would be important.
Okay. Yeah, I can provide that and amend the report.
Yeah,
Send it
just
out.
similar to what you have in the back couple of charts there, right?
Yep. So yeah, the trophic state index basically takes your phosphorus, clarity, and chlorophyll and does a statistical model to project trophic state. Eutrophic are very productive lakes, low water clarity, lots of plant growth, algae growth, towards the end of a lake's life stage. Mesotrophic's right in the middle, and then oligotrophic, you are talking high clarity, lakes more like Lake Michigan, Torch Lake, Mullet Lake, stuff like that. It's not the perfect model. As you can see, it fluctuates year over year. And this year, in 2025, the value was more in the oligotrophic range, simply because of the clarity and chlorophyll being low. Doesn't necessarily mean that your overall lake production or nutrient levels are low, it just means they're tied up somewhere else, most likely in zebra mussels or other plant growth. So over the course of, since 2013, if you average those out, the lake is in the mesotrophic, so middle range, moderate productivity, plant, moderate clarity. And that's kind of the summary for water quality. I'll get the historical data and we can put those in graphs and stuff.
Question.
Yep.
Is it true the clarity of the water would also be part of the reason, like, we may have increased plant growth because the sunlight can penetrate?
Yeah, it can. It just
Yeah.
expands where plants can grow. Another big factor for excessive plant growth, which a lot of lakes, if not most of them in the state of Michigan this year, had a late season and just overall really high plant production. It can be attributed to drought conditions as well. So unlike terrestrial plants, aquatic plants don't desiccate when there's a drought because they're in the water. They prefer warmer water temperatures. We are getting surface water temperature values at the peak of the summer months and close to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just aquatic plants really thrive off of warmer water. So the drought conditions not only increase water temperature, increase sunlight, but also lowering the water level as well just expands even farther out where the plants can grow. So you just get this overall greater abundance. With that as well, September, we kind of experienced a second summer almost. The cool down for this fall was delayed. We just recently started seeing cooler weather, cooler water temperatures, so your plant's seasonal growth has expanded.
I just brought that up because, like, I know a while ago, there was a big, like Lake St. Clair, some of the bigger watersheds, the zebra mussel population cleared that water, the clarity went through the roof, and, you know, the weeds were going almost to the surface in some of those lakes, and,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I asked you, like, a lot of the conversations I was involved at that time, a lot of that they were attributing to the increased clarity of the zebra mussels, and I personally have noticed, like, I've lived here 5 years. It seems like every year when I pull in my intake for my sprinkler, every year there seems to be more and more of those things like on.
Yeah.
It seems like that's been like increased in just the time I've been here. So.
Right. Yeah, and that's, definitely a major factor. Water clarity just makes it possible for plants to grow a lot better. And we don't have any data on zebra mussel populations, but in 2016, the TSI value was also oligotrophic, so our team was questioning whether or not that was another boom period for zebra mussels. Like any species, they boom and bust, so they'll have these large population spikes, and then they'll dip. And that's about a 10-year time frame, which seems reasonable. So if there's anyone that has data or anecdotal stuff on zebra mussel populations year over year that people have taken note of, that would be great, because 2016 would be the one of question as well. If you guys had a large zebra mussel population then, increasing your clarity and having your TSI value be in the oligotrophic range. Moving on to the plant control summary, just kind of goes over why aquatic plants are beneficial to the lakes, but also why they need to be managed to some degree, especially aquatic invasive species. Main plants targeted for control in Wolverine Lake are the Eurasian water milfoil, curly pondweed, and starry stonewort. These three species are all highly invasive and can become a real nuisance if left unchecked within the lake. And then page 9 has a table of the plant control activities. So there was 4 aquatic herbicide treatments conducted this season, as well as ongoing harvesting by the village of Wolverine Lake. The first treatment was targeting algae before there were copper use restrictions, and then the remainder of the season was targeting your Eurasian milfoil and starry stonewort, as well as some nuisance native areas where the harvester might not have been able to get into. We provided maps each month to the harvester, to the village, to guide the harvester in plant removal. We were informed later on that the harvester was down in operation for about a week or 2. I don't know exactly how long it was. So that delayed some of the harvesting, which we strongly recommend and heavily utilize for native plant control. Treatment acreage was down this year. by about 50 acres. Last year, you guys had an additional treatment, so that's really where that value comes from. And the shift in treatments being reduced by 1 is mostly because we had a heavier increase of harvesting area that we relied on. The plant inventory survey we collected on August 7th. That's on page 10. We go around the shoreline at GPS points and record all plant species within the lake and their relative density. This just breaks down all the plants we observed within the lake during that survey and their percentage of the sites that we recorded them at. Your most predominant species are wild celery and starry stonewort. Wild celery is a native plant. It's eelgrass, some people call it. It's very prolific in the state of Michigan, and it's pretty hard to control with aquatic herbicides. Harvesting is usually your best option for that. It produces like a white flower on a stalk at the end of the season, people might notice, and then it has its seed production after that. And then starry stonewort is becoming more prevalent within the lake as time goes on, simply because of its invasive nature, starting to take over areas of Cara, as well as it's a little bit harder to control, and copper is really one of the main algicides you can use for starry stonewort, and that's restricted copper sulfate in the months of May and June, so that limits what we can and can't do.
Does this say that, this table 6, where Eurasian milfoil occupies too much of my time, apparently? It's 7% of the lake, of the sites, whereas
Yes.
wild celery is at 51%, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yep.
I thought the Eurasian milfoil was a big problem.
It has been in years past. It usually
It's
has
this table, right? You see, the red line is the trend in milfoil.
Oh, where's that?
And then the green is the
page, oh.
starry stonewort, so.
Oh, you're ahead of me.
Trends is reversing, but also a function of the fact that you can't treat it the same.
That's pretty common when you target heavily invaded water bodies back in between 2013 and 2015. Eurasian milfoil was at its peak. When you get good effective control of the invasive species that outcrowd and overcrowd natives, the natives will start to fill in, and that's when you start to having to control native nuisance populations, usually with harvesting or other methods. So it's a pretty common trend to see the invasives go down if managed properly, and the natives start to go back up.
Amazing.
And it's a battle against nature, really, when you're talking about that aspect.
The key treatment, I think I heard you say for starry stonewort is copper?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
which
copper
is-
sulfate
We
works.
only do before May.
Yeah,
Okay.
copper sulfate has been known to work the best on starry stonewort. That's restricted in the months of May and June due to fish spawning. So we can target it in April, and then after, basically starting July 1st, we can use copper sulfate. We can treat it with chelated forms of copper and a few other herbicides. It's just not as effective or especially cost effective. So that kind of slows progression of getting quality control of the invasive species. There's also nothing that's been developed that really breaks down the carbohydrates of its reproductive structures. So really control of that species is really just reducing growth and just reducing the impact of its navigational concerns and everything. It's kind of a hard one to eradicate from lakes.
Is this one that we usually recommend to harvest or not? But like the milfoil splits, right, and spreads if you kind of harvest it, so we avoid
Right,
it?
yeah,
Is this-
fragments. So starry stonewort we do harvest on the lake. That's because it's pretty much around most of the spatially around the lake. As well as you can get really good control if you harvest it and then you treat with herbicides shortly after, and that's part of the recommendations and on page is that 9? Basically, having a little bit stronger coordination with the harvester and our herbicide treatment plans to line up in a shorter window. Whether that looks like the village tracking harvesting areas a little more closely to then relay that information to us, or even considering having a one-time harvest from an outside contractor to get a large-scale harvest done within like a short week time frame to then treat shortly after. With one machine, you are limited to time and operation hours. It's a pretty large lake to be able to harvest the entire lake within a week to then come and treat all those areas effectively. but we can also strategize, harvesting smaller areas and treating those more frequently throughout the summer months as well.
Do you think Eco Harvester as a second one would be beneficial?
Yeah, we've looked into the Eco Harvester, and I talked to Jerry a little bit on the phone about it. We do understand the limitations with Eagle, with that machine, as far as you need to obtain a permit. And a few of the members at Eagle, after reviewing it, it seems like they're kind of reluctant to permit that machine unless there's some more.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear all what you said with my hearing and this
No
thing
worries.
going over.
So yeah, the Eco Harvester, after speaking with you on it, doing some research, and then the correspondence you have sent with me about the members of Eagle being a little reluctant to permit that, doesn't mean you can't apply for a permit and get it. I don't
We will.
really see why it would be, that permit would not be granted, just because it's essentially the same thing as the harvester the village currently owns. The only difference is it has that rolling device that, in theory, helps uproot rather than just cut. And I think that's Eagle's biggest concern, is uprooting the plants can disturb the sediments as well as basically eradicate plants in a certain area versus cutting the plants for regrowth, still keeping some structure on the bottom lands. I don't know how well the Eco Harvester works with Starry Stonework. It's from my understanding, a fairly new device, and I haven't really seen much other than the anecdotal video and photos that were sent of what it is. I've never seen it in action. But, harvesting in general is beneficial just to remove biomass from the lake, to prevent it from decaying in the lake. And then also when you cut plants throughout the season, as they start to grow back, they absorb nutrients from the water column sediments, which help with your nutrient loading in the lakes as well. And then your year-end harvest towards the end of the season in the fall months, remove it, reduce regrowth, and then the plants don't have large die-off, which then decays, turns into sediment accumulation, muck development, and also consumes oxygen in that process as well. But as far as the Eco Harvester goes, our stance is
We
we're not.
intend to go for a permit, don't we?
Yeah.
We're trying to get a meeting.
Try to get the meeting to understand. what's
Trying to
going
get,
on.
if we can ever get a meeting with Eagle.
Right.
And you mentioned, and I mentioned in here that you guys, Progressive, might be able to help us with the conference format thing that we have to submit.
Yeah, pre-application meeting
Yeah.
with Eagle.
You guys have done that, eh?
Yeah, we've done pre-applications with Eagle. We've worked with Eric Calabro, who'd probably be the permitting authority on this type of work, or his division at least. And we've worked with him and that division several times on other projects as well. It's the same permitting division that does your shoreline stuff, your aeration, and all that other, any pretty much mechanical means of lake projects versus it's not the chemical side. But as far as our stance at Progressive looking into it, it just looks like another tool that can be utilized, and it removes plants. So it could be beneficial. We just don't know much about it as far as how well it operates and all that.
Kind of similar to my previous thing, again, on this table for the plant inventory data, do you take that inventory around the same time every year, first week of August or something? Each
Yeah,
year?
and we can provide.
Like the same thing, I mean, realistically,
Yeah, and that's kind
maybe
of
even
the
getting
last.
digital copies of this stuff will let me do some of that analysis, but if we have by plant, I know you have it for the milfoil and
Yeah.
the stonewort, but, if it's just like, hey, here's these things and a line that
Right.
shows how that thing has changed. Has wild celery gone from 10% to 51?
Yeah.
But just try and see those general trends and how the things trade off, similar to the chart that you have here, but for the rest of them, and maybe instead of bar chart, just like a line,
Yeah.
But even if the data is available, then we can make our own charts too.
Yeah, we have all the data that we can compile, and they're already in charts and everything.
Sure. The treatment number and acres treated, acres treated, this is just a sum of all acres treated for all plants, including algae. Is that what this plot is?
The 227.75, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
The blue chart?
Yeah,
Yep, that's just sum of all acres, basically all chemical applications.
okay.
It's not any harvesting acreage, because since
Yeah.
you guys own your own harvester,
Yep.
we have the spatial data to track acreage for the harvester if you'd like. We just haven't in the past because it's run by the village and it's just consistent year round.
Yeah. But this includes even just algae treatments, right?
Yep.
So we had one less treatment this year, is that what you said earlier?
Yep, yeah, there was one, last year there was 2 treatments somewhat close together, and I can give you that data, I believe it was in the month of July.
Mhm.
But one was targeting Starry, one was targeting nuisance natives and algae, and it was just an additional treatment that basically added to the total number, being a little larger last year.
Okay.
And as always, we don't live out on the lake, and so if there's any resident concerns or any need for assessment or herbicide treatments, just feel free to contact us at any time. I know you have our contact information, I think most of the board does. But, that's, any residents that have input really helps guide our surveys and our timeliness of treatments and stuff to make sure needs are met, so.
Yeah, we probably need to come up with a more effective way to get the feedback from residents too, because sometimes we get it and it's like a comment a month later. It's like, okay, too little, too late, right? Or it's like you go find something and it's on Facebook, or
Right.
we don't have like a centralized location where people can provide concerns and then we can react to them. It's generally word of mouth, or I see something somewhere, or it shows up on a monthly meeting type of thing.
Right.
It's not more real time than that, so we could probably figure out a better way to get feedback directly from the residents too.
Yeah.
I had a small question.
Yeah.
Just understanding, so I'm looking at the treatment date of 610, and pretty much every other quantity is listed in acres of treatment, but what does PDU stand for on the Procellacor?
Yeah, so Procellacor is a patented product, systemic herbicide for Eurasian milfoil, by CPRO. They label it as prescription dose units, PDUs.
I got it.
A PDU is equivalent to 3.2 fluid ounces per acre foot. We don't write that all out.
Yeah.
And to get the acreage of that is a little difficult, so we stick with the PDUs on there. We usually use about 6.4 fluid ounces per acre foot, depending on your water depth and location.
Okay.
I hear that too. Jerry.
What? I'm sorry.
Is that do you have hearing aids?
Is that your hearing? It's just making
Oh, yeah.
noise. All right.
They're whistling. at us.
$1,700 2 days ago, and I can't get on. I heard about 1/3 of what you said. I'll put one over there and one over here. Sorry.
So what, this last chart, what's this last chart? Relative density of literal zone percentage.
The cumulative cover?
Yeah.
Yep, so that kind of takes the data you're talking about for the plant inventory survey. So the relative density at each site is taken. Basically, the field scientist, when I do my surveys, you label the plant species within that transect, either A through D as far as density, A being sparse, 2%, D being 60 to 100% dense in that area.
Is that measured, or it looks 20%?
It's just based on inference. There's no great way to measure.
How big is the sample area? When you're going to multiple locations on the lake and you're
Yeah,
saying, okay,
so-
in this one?
Yeah, a typical transect is within a rough acre.
Okay.
So as you're traveling, you can also do it when we do our rake tosses. If you can't see in the water, you basically use the rake abundance and divvy it up that way, and then you kind of make inferences from there.
Okay.
So it's not a perfect a system, but it gives you a general idea, especially when the field scientists like myself have been doing the surveys the past several
Yeah.
years.
So the first one is like, is the weed there? The weed
Yep,
type
that's presence,
there at
absence,
all?
and we like to display that data more than the cumulative cover simply because, what's 20% versus 30%, and it's not that close of a system. I mean, A through D is basically 2, and then 2 to 20, 20 to 60, 60 to 100%.
So the first, this is, at a given site, was that weed there, could have been one of them.
Correct.
And this is, of all the weeds that were there at the site, how much of the site was covered with weeds on average?
Yeah, and this one's actually, it uses those values to project the percentage of the plants within the entire littoral zone, so where plants can grow within the lake. It's typically to the 15-foot contour, but it varies from lake to lake. So it's a mathematical model, again, developed by Eagle for that one. So what this would tell you is, you know, for, let's say, for example, in 2015, Eurasian water milfoil looks like it was 10%. So 10% of the entire littoral zone had Eurasian water milfoil growth. And it's not height, it's just spatially. And so like this year, 2025, starry stonewort was roughly around 30% of the entire littoral zone had starry stonewort growth of some form. And it's variable from year over year, simply just from.
It's interesting, I mean, you would look at that and say people would, like, 2024, nearly 100% of the areas where weeds could grow, weeds were growing.
Correct.
And 80% of that was native and 20% of it was not. And this year, only 60% of the area where weeds could grow
Yeah.
did we have weeds. And now this was over the given day that you did the survey in August or
Yep,
something.
and the current conditions, so if water clarity was a little reduced compared to last year, I rely on my rake tosses a little more as part of the standard methods set
Sure.
by Eagle. And if you're throwing your rake, that's one spot, it rakes out a plant, and then
Yeah.
you do it twice or three times in an area that, versus if you have a clear, calm day, you get to see
Sure,
a
you can see.
little more. So, again, this is just a good to keep track over a long period of time, so from 2015, 2025, you could average that out and get a fairly accurate number for what the lake typically observes.
Mhm.
But I would not take it to like a stern, hard
Mhm.
set value. And that's why we do the presence absence.
And this is also a function of, like, did we harvest the day before you went and did it?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, there's lots of factors, yeah.
Okay. Okay. The areas that you do the survey,
Mhm.
for this type of thing, like the weed content, those are areas that are marked with, you know, indicators on the map or something, or there's
Yeah,
specific
so-
numbers? Or
yeah,
you're just going
so if
all
you-
around the end?
It's specific numbers, and they're the same sites every year.
Okay.
But if you look at page number 8, that gives a snapshot of the map.
Yep.
It is pretty much every 300 feet along the shoreline, there's an established point site reference
Okay.
area. And then along the drop-off area at the 10-foot contour, it's every 300 feet around those drop-off areas.
Okay.
So you're going to like, every time you do this, you're going to like 230-ish sites?
Correct.
Okay. How long does it take you to do our lake? Just out of curiosity.
If I'm just doing a general assessment to delineate like treatment areas, harvesting areas, takes about 3.5 to 4 hours. The AVAS takes a little longer. But again, conditions, also, if it's a really calm, clear day, I can go a little faster, so.
Okay. So what conclusions do you draw from all of this? We can draw our own from the data, but lead the witness here.
Yeah, so basically, plant growth within Wolverine Lake has been somewhat consistent year over year for the past 3 or 4 years. And we're seeing a significant decline in the Eurasian water milfoil, mostly because we've been heavier on systemic herbicide use, which targets root systems. With that, we're starting to see a slow increase of the starry stonewort, as well as nuisance natives around the lake. Native plants are beneficial to the lake, however, at certain densities, they can hinder the fisheries' growth rates simply because prey fish have a lot more areas to hide, and you get a stunted population that way. Also, larger plant growth, nuisance native growth can hinder recreation on the lake, which is a valuable resource for inland lakes, is the recreational values, navigation, fishing, boating, and stuff like that. So moving forward, it'll be more focused on just controlling and maintaining the lake to benefit navigation and recreation, because the Eurasian water milfoil is pretty well controlled. Still having that as the primary concern and monitoring it, but our focus can start to shift towards starry stonewort and figuring out ways to improve water quality through excessive plant removal via harvesting, and then also maybe exploring those lanthanum bentonite clays in the deep waters to help with phosphorus production and nutrient runoff.
Earlier you mentioned that, were you saying that walleye wouldn't do well in our lake?
They would survive. They just, in theory, they won't thrive. They're a cool water species, so during really hot months, they prefer cooler water to seek refuge in. And basically what that means is, I'm sure the lake probably has walleye and pike. You just might see more stunted populations and not as robust as you would if it was a cool water fishery. And that's just based on generalized fishery studies and response.
'Cause I had pretty extensive conversation with the DNR the last couple of years, and they're drawing from a fish survey they did several years back. I'm hoping to get them back out here before too long. But one of the things they discovered in that survey was like our panfish, our bluegill, were like 75% of the total mass of the lake, but on average they were all below like the average size, so they were stunted. So one of the things they've been working on is trying to work with me on our fish stocking. And they're looked at more of the average depth of the lake, and they're actually suggesting, like, we're on our second 2-year cycle of stocking walleye into the water.
Yep.
With their hope that they will help thin out that 75% mass of like bluegill to give them a chance to thrive. And like when you said the cool water, like that immediately was a red flag. But I do remember specifically in the conversation I had with them about like the walleye in our lake, they looked more at like the average depth of our lake versus like those 50 to 60
Right.
foot holes. Like there's no way they're in there. Like
Yeah.
it's more the drop offs and the
Yeah, and the stocking of walleye and pike is usually like a management method for, like you were saying, panfish were stunted, a large population of them. So you put in those predatory fish that help to control those panfish populations. They'll live and they'll probably reproduce a little bit. They just won't. In theory, it's not a cool water fishery that's going to support them, and you might have to stock walleye or pike every so often to keep up with that, because eventually over time, if you stock it once or twice, they're not going to reproduce overly well and maintain themselves for a long period of time, so then you'll find that your panfish population will go back to being robust and stunted. Why? Well, it's probably because your walleye and pike haven't really sustained themselves over a however long, 10, 20-year period. You stock them again to keep up with that population. And that's really what I mean by thriving, is just basically being able to sustain themselves. And again, in theory, the lake, if you were just to leave it alone, walleye and pike would just eventually
A lot of
kind
bass.
Yeah, walleye and pike, bass and panfish would be your dominant species, and walleye and pike would be very seldom, if not eventually over time, and the time frame is unknown.
I just want to kind of go back to this chart, just the percentage of survey sites with the species compared to the relative density. So you look at the one chart and you're like, oh man, starry stonewort is taking over, right? You get that perception from this thing. 60% of the sites we look at have starry stonewort, right?
Yep.
So you're like, oh man, it's the new devil. And then you go to the backs chart and you're like, it's like 20% of the area that you can actually, like, where it could be, like, I read this last chart of all of the area where it could exist, it only exists in 20% of those areas. Is that true or no?
It's
The density
spatially,
of it.
it's 20% of
Of
the spatial
the area.
area. The percentage of sites is at that site. So we
Yes,
could find
yes.
starry in this amount, it gets recorded.
As it's there.
This over a course
on
of
the
an
first
acre
chart.
is very low density.
Yes.
Versus if you find starry covering an entire acre, that's still at one site. That's still.
But so it's saying it's at a lot of sites. It is
Yes.
at the number of sites, it has spread.
Yes.
Okay? It has spread to many sites, upwards of 60% of all sites now contain it.
Yes.
However, its density at those sites, it is covering roughly 20% of that area. Is that the way that you
Yeah,
read
it's
it?
20% of the littoral, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
And that number's been 15 upwards to 20, so it's growing. Okay.
And that, I think the biggest difference there is, we're more looking at that, if we mark it as an A level, which is like 2%, versus a D level, 60 to 100. Your B and C levels, they're so close that that's probably why you're getting this slow progression. You know, once it jumps, if you had low density starry during our survey and recording, and then it jumped to high density the next year, you'll see a drastic increase in percentage. Most plants don't respond that way unless there's just ample habitat for them to expand and grow.
So there's lots of data here, I guess, lots of things we're measuring, okay? But how do we know if we're being successful or not on any of these measurements? Like, what's the goal, right? We're tracking this stuff, we're measuring it.
So I think.
How do we know at the end of the day, we're like, man, we did a good job. We did a job, we can measure it, but it's not clear to me how we know for sure we're doing a good job.
I think first is the expectation that complete eradication is just really not feasible
Yeah,
for these
clearly.
invasive
Yep.
species. So, you know, goals, like I said, back when the program started, or the data at least that we have, starry stonewort, I mean, not starry stonewort.
Milfoil. It's to get that under control.
Eurasian milfoil was very dense, high, around the lake, causing very significant nuisance. So the goal then was, can we reduce that year over year? And I would say that's been pretty successful. We're down to 7% of sites observed. You might have a good amount of milfoil in the spring, but we treat it with the systemics, and it's pretty well under control during the year. Starry stonewort is starting to creep up, so that's why we're assessing that. Starry stonewort, like I said, is so robust and hard to basically get rid of that your success is more looking at, can we maintain it to a manageable level so it's not topped out in the shallow waters and completely covering the entire lake and you just have a really large mess on your hands. So we've been harvesting it and treating it, and I think a successful approach is that you're either keeping that distribution baseline or you're just really slowing down its progression. We've seen several lakes that over the course of 5 years, you'll notice, oh, there's some starry by the launch area, interesting. And then they either neglect to treat it, or they treat it once and don't bother, and then in the 5-year period, that's all they have in the lake. Literally no other plants but starry stonewort. So your management goals are kind of shifting to, let's see if we can, not see, but the goal is to reduce that population to a manageable level, but also just keep it from getting worse and worse exponentially over time.
So what does that look like on which of these charts? We would be looking at both the last two charts and
Yeah,
saying,
so
we don't
you-
want it to show up at more sites. I don't know if that's practical or not, if you can actually prevent it from spreading.
Right. Yeah, so
it is one
you're
lake.
looking at the, you
It
are
seems like
looking
it's
at
more
the,
the last chart.
The last chart, and then also the percentage of survey sites to a degree. Percentage of survey sites basically can just tell you, how fast it's spreading around the lake. And it's been consistently about 50 to 60%. It was high in 2013, and it was able to drop it down, and now it's been, if you were to
But
do a
can
trend
you
line.
physically control the way it spreads? Is that a controllable thing?
Well, if you keep up with extensive harvesting and treatments, you can slow its spread over. But like I said, the reproductive and the carbohydrate structure of the star and starry stonewort, eventually it'll make ground, and that's why we're just trying to slow that. But you're looking at that, pretty much that last table, like you said. And we want to make sure that our trend line is as close to flat as possible rather than being in the positive direction, because I think the negative direction is pretty hard to obtain. Not saying that it is not feasible, but just with the current technology now and herbicides available to us and restrictions, the main goal is really to keep that trend line as close to zero, net zero essentially, as you can, which I can throw a trend line on this relative density for the starry stone if you'd like, but just visually, it kind of looks like if you were to go from 2015, 2025, it would be, pretty level. I think that's a positive for the management side.
So, just by looking at all the data, I assume that you've been servicing Wolverine Lake since 2013?
I believe my company has.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes.
mean.
Yep. Yeah,
And then-
I started on the program or the project back in 2021.
Okay.
My current boss, Paul Hausler, was on the project since, I believe, 2013. We originally were hired on to assess, I think, the current aeration that was out on the lake at the time, and then morphed into the oversight of the program.
When did we get the harvester? Do we know that? Like how long ago?
I believe the last one that we bought was around 2013, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yep.
So was that could have been a recommendation then maybe, or we just happened to have it at the same time?
I
But
can
we
look
had
at
not-
That I'm
look
not
at
100% sure.
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
not sure.
remember
But-
seeing the old receipt in some village documents a long time ago.
Did we have one before 2013?
I believe, yes, I believe we were placed to the harvester at that time.
It sank. You're the one who said, right?
Hmm?
The old harvester, the first harvester sank.
No, I don't think it's saying.
I don't
know. Oh,
I
okay.
don't think it's saying.
I'll read the minutes again.
Okay, so kind of for goals, like, if I think about it, the complaints we get from the village, right? Certainly one of them is algae whenever it shows up, just because it's like, it happens so fast, right? Like, all of a sudden it's there and everything's like sludge, and it's like, the appearance of it is worse. I feel like we've done a good job with that over the past couple of years, especially down in the canals. We generally have one window of time very early in the spring where it just pops up and everybody complains about it, and then we generally get it under control, and then it's good. So I think we gotta keep focusing on the algae treatments. We did the early algae treatments, we try and get that last treatment of copper in before May comes around, which is good. I think it helps. If there's something we could do, again, I know we're fighting nature, but however we can avoid those early algae complaints, I think that's something that gets people all wound up. They're thinking about getting their boats in the water, and next thing you know, it all looks green and their beaches are nasty and stuff. I think that'd be something if we could think about how we can improve that in the beginning, and then if we set some goals like, hey, listen, it looks like we've had a successful trip here with the milfoil. We want to keep that at, near where it is today. Don't let that grow, and then we're going to focus on managing the starry stone wort, make sure it doesn't get unmanageable and crazy, and the path to that can be a large push with the harvester too, right? We could treat both of the things on this last chart with the harvester, right?
Yep.
We need to crank harvester. We didn't run it as much, I don't think, this year. I didn't get the final numbers, but
The second one might help.
I don't know. I mean, it
Maybe.
depends if we're running the one we have, but
Yeah.
because the milfoil was like, we were avoiding. So when we go today and we do the harvester maps and we say, stay out of this area, stay out of that area, is that largely because we've treated milfoil in those areas?
Yeah, it's either milfoil was found and it's going to be treated, or it was treated, and we want to give sufficient time for it to have the herbicide be absorbed and translocated down to the roots, so you don't risk that fragmentation. And then we try our best to also map out in the later season when some milfoil is under control, because you guys just have the one machine. We usually do priority areas just to kind of guide the harvester or the operator. So usually on the maps, we'll have like, do these ones first, do these ones after. And that's mostly just targeting visual nuisance levels or the shared space is being more significantly impacted at this location versus this. So we want to address that versus the harvester maybe just starting to the closest one and then slowly making its way around the lake. And that's why, the proposal recommendation to potentially explore a more extensive harvest, especially in the late season, like September time, to remove that biomass, reduce regrowth, that plant decay in the winter months, just basically adds to nutrient loading in the lake, which can cause the spring algae blooms as well as muck development. Whether that looks like you guys exploring the purchasing or expanding your harvesting operations, or just putting more time allotted on it, or seeking an outside contractor for a short time window for a robust harvest. You know, there's several companies in Michigan that basically have 5 or 6 machines, and they'll send a couple out and basically harvest an entire lake within a week, and it's all done right at once.
So talk about you mentioned it, but it's kind of seems like a lesson learned out of the year, but just a coordinated harvest with the treatment. This is specifically to get after starry stonewort?
Correct. Yeah, so because starry stonewort can grow very dense, and it's really hard to achieve that control with the algicides and copper sulfate being your best option, we found that if you harvest it first and have it be low growing, you have less density, and then go over shortly after and treat it with copper sulfate or whatever herbicide of choice you're going to use. One, you're trying to target less biomass, so you have less die-off, but also during that time frame, starry stonewort starts to grow back because it's been cut, so it's going to absorb those algicides and chemicals a little better and give you a more sustained control.
What is that window of time where you're saying, hey, listen, let's get the harvest done and then let's get the herbicide applied?
Within a week or two of cutting to then treat. You don't want to do it like right after. You want to wait for the water to settle and sediment to not be stirred up. But typically what we do is we have the lake harvested within a week time frame, and then we have the applicator schedule for about 7 days after that.
So this is something we could definitely take on next year, right? We can run an operation and just say, hey, listen, we're going to spend, you know, to the best of the village's ability, right? Go 7 days straight on the harvester and just try and, you know, go as hard as we can for a week, and then have you guys come in the next week type of thing.
Right. And I can also delineate the areas and basically have the harvest and treatment areas delineated, and then when the harvester finishes up a select area, they probably can notify Aquaweed. They're pretty flexible, and Aquaweed can schedule that area. If you guys can't feasibly get the entire lake done in like a week to then treat an entire week, but if they can, great.
I think they can. I mean, if they just run it, they can run it for a week straight.
Yeah, and if they can't, otherwise, Aquaweed's pretty flexible, where they basically would send out a work order, and they would just wait for the response from the operators or the village or us to basically go out and treat those areas that have been harvested until they wrap up the other areas, then come back out to the lake.
And like, as far as timing in the year, is that more effective at some time of the year versus the other? Like, is it something we should be looking at, hey, do this in September, or do this in July, or?
Yeah, because it's, you're cutting it first and getting that biomass, it doesn't have a crucial time frame.
Okay.
I would say we probably want to do it in July, because then you have the copper sulfate that you can use, rather than, if you do it in May and June, you're restricted to chelated forms, which are just not as effective.
Okay.
In April, starry stonewort usually is not growing that abundant to warrant any sort of harvesting, or the harvester's not going to get much out of it. So I'm thinking more July, August timeframe.
Yeah, so kind of maybe end of July type of thing.
Yep.
Coordinated push on harvester with treatment for starry stonewort. Yeah, I mean, this is an action we could definitely go take next year if we think it's going to be more effective, especially for starry stonewort. There's no reason why we couldn't do better coordination there. Okay. Yeah, and if you have thoughts on the algae treatment, you know, again, whatever we could do in the beginning of the year, we probably can't do anything or anything significant, but if we could dodge that, a lot of our complaints come right in the beginning of the year with it, and it's algae driven. And the good part is, no lake restriction. They're usually super responsive. They come out, 2 days later, it's gone.
Yeah, we'll continue with that, late April algae treatment. The only limitation with that is they can really only treat what's there. Spot treatment, they can't treat the whole water body, because one, copper sulfate doesn't really work that way. It just, they're not allowed to either. We can look into options of doing a lanthanum treatment of some form to maybe strip nutrients out of the water column to reduce algal growth in the spring. But you know, if people have been responding well to the April treatment and not a lot of concerns there, we can continue with that.
Okay. So like I said, I'd like to get some plots over time for the the tables that are here. I don't know if you have, I don't know if you guys have like the data available shared digitally anywhere as well, if that's an option, to be probably good for us to have just for records anyway. But I think I'm good on questions. We got some things that I think we can roll into the plan next year, better coordination with the harvester especially, so. Does anybody else have any questions?
No, I like the idea of it. End of July.
Yeah, so we just go full court press, coordinate it with the village, make sure they can get one or two operators out there, just slam it at the end, and
Try
then
next year. That should take us all through the end of.
I added it to the key dates. It'll be there.
Oh, it'll happen, yeah.
It'll happen. We can make that happen. That's manageable.
I think it'd be a good idea.
Okay. Any other questions? Guys good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Thanks for jumping in.
Jerry, I don't mean to be rude, but can you shut them off? Because I think you're killing it with your dog whistles.
I can't even hear 'em. Shit.
Is there a battery?
Let me give them.
No, you got it now.
Let me get. Should have obeyed my parents in 10th or 5th grade, man.
No, no.
Let me give these to
Take him back
Sheila.
to the home pretty soon. Can I just say one thing before you leave? It's obviously too late to introduce, any other subjects at this point, but, thank you.
I'll take both of them, okay? Excuse me.
Maybe
I'm learning.
on the next.
No, I understand.
On the next agenda, how can we get better feedback from residents? How can we utilize a newsletter and let, people are afraid of chemicals, copper sulfate, you name it. How about an educational kind of thing
Yeah, we can look
in
into
a
it.
newsletter and encouraging feedback from us?
Well, I
It's
can
just probably
strong.
most important.
Yeah, that was one of the notes I took, a better way to get feedback in general. We get it today by people coming here, or sending it to the village, or emailing Dave, or putting it on Facebook, or there's channels to do it.
Is there a newsletter?
But it's not good.
That you can utilize?
We have a newsletter that goes out once a year,
Oh.
so it's not, these are online, people can view them, but we have just the one newsletter that goes out each year.
Well,
So, we have all the meeting notes available, we have all the meeting notes available on the website, so we could look into better way to get feedback, though. I think that's something that we can
And
definitely look into.
educate
Yep,
residents. Great.
okay. We're gonna move on. I haven't heard from Rob, but I texted him. So it's Water Management Board 3-year term expirations. So for people to extend their terms. I'm not sure if we could do this for Rob, if Rob is not here, and he hasn't told me. So that's kind of puts
I
us in a
think we
weird,
can nominate him in an extension.
in his absence. I just texted him to ask if he wants us to extend his term. or
Oh, you can,
if
I
he's
mean, you could
quitting.
always step down.
Step down.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would have to say, put some nominations forward here.
I nominate Rob Jankowski.
I second.
I can set, so nominated by Paul, seconded by Jerry. We'll do a roll call vote on that nomination for Rob Jankowski.
Schlaf,
Yeah.
Ramey,
Yeah.
Snyder,
Yes.
Jankowski, Martini,
Yeah,
Newman.
Yes.
Jennings.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
okay. I'm assuming, Matt, you'd like to remain?
I'm actually surprised I'm on here because I've only been here a year and a half.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Does it just go over a certain set period?
the person whose spot you stepped in for's term's expiring, so then
Got it.
even though you just come on, you pick up where their term left off.
Makes sense. I was curious how it worked, but I'm good with it. Yeah, I'll extend.
Okay, all right, so in that case, I'll put a motion in to nominate Matthew Ramey for the water board.
Second?
All right, roll call vote.
Yes.
Ramey, Schlaf,
Yes.
Oh,
Well, we flipped, but that's okay.
what?
Yes.
Martini,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Jennings.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Yeah, so that's why when you get added, it's, you take the term of the slot of the
Got
person
it.
who had left.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, the next thing is chair and vice chair for this. I'll say the same thing I said last time, like, I would, if somebody else would do this, I would gladly accept somebody else doing this. Rob said the same thing, so, I feel like I don't actually have the time to do a good job in general. Basically, come here and wing it, or spend a little bit of time. I think so. If other people feel like they want to be the chair or lead and do it, no, they
Kyle,
won't.
you should do it.
That was suggested last year, I believe.
Oh, yeah? I thought I remembered that from someplace.
So
Jerry, I think you would love it.
No.
I will leave it open to that. So
Well, I think you and Rob are doing a fine job.
I would agree.
Excellent job.
And you completely faked me out with the, you don't have, you just wing it. It's a pretty good wing job.
yes,
I mean, yeah, I mean, you've been doing it for a while, so.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if somebody else wants to take it, I won't shed a tear. If nobody wants to do it, I'll do it again.
You're
But
right.
that's the deal.
Okay.
Anybody else out there want to join the board? Come on and be the chair. You probably could. We do have an open seat.
You start as the chair.
And then I don't know if Rob wants to be the vice again. I haven't talked to him.
No, we're gonna do what we did
If we could- I don't know
with this
that.
nomination.
I don't know if we can do that because the
Yeah, I don't know if
nomination
we can
goes
put
to
him in
the
a chair. I feel bad doing that.
yeah because
Well-
the nominations go get approved by the council,
Yeah.
but the chairs.
Again, he can withdraw if he doesn't want to do it, but he's proven himself to be a good chair when you're unavailable.
Yeah, he's been a good vice chair.
Let's vote him in and he can have the cake.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay, we got to do nominations and roll call votes.
I nominate Ryan Martini as chairman.
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Schlaf,
Yes.
Ramey,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Martini,
Yep.
Newman.
Yes.
Jennings.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you were
I
gonna
was
say
gonna
yes
say
or
I
no.
was curious if you voted to that. Well, I just said I would do it if nobody wants to do it. I'm not gonna say no then. All right.
I nominate Rob Jankowski for vice chair.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
Schlaf, Ramey,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Martini,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Jennings.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Rob's gonna be pissed. Let's see.
He's on
You did
vacation, he better
what?
come back.
He should've came
I didn't hear him
in.
speak up, so.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, he didn't say. He didn't say no. He didn't say no. Rob abstained.
He wasn't here to say
You
no.
asked him on a text. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Meetings were meeting tonight.
Congratulations, you said.
Choose both.
Yeah, I asked him if he wanted to be the chair. He said no to that. That's for sure.
Oh, good, so we all was.
Okay, decide if we're meeting in November, December, and January. So the past couple of years, we have not, just because it's fairly slow. Certainly December and January, I don't see a need to meet in because there's not a whole lot going on. We had come back in May, started planning some of the spring work, which I think is feasible. I'm willing to meet in November if there's things that we want to discuss or things we want to close out, but open discussion for you guys. What do you think?
I think since we met the obligation of how many meetings to have for the year, then I think suspending meetings until.
Because I think we're only obligated for what, for 3?
3 a year
Yeah.
Yeah.
is the obligation. It's not like that's the only business we've got, but,
Right.
you know.
We already established you're on the water board, and, you know, because you hardly meet with the planning commission.
I know, right? We meet 3 times, no. Planning Commission typically will meet when there's somebody who's come forward and has an issue that has to be dealt with in that discipline, but nobody has, so.
So what do you guys
So you're a
think?
liaison for them.
Make a motion, we will go the November, December, and January meeting.
Second.
Okay. I don't know if there's a roll call vote, but all in favor?
No?
Aye.
All right, we will cancel November, December, and January meetings.
Here, took 3 more off your plate.
That's right. Okay, administrative report, current lake level. Current lake level is pretty much where it needs to be. It's coming down. We stopped the pumps in early October here. Right now it is 0.17 feet below the target. So what is that? 0.17 times 2 inches below the target, which is just fine because we're ramping it down. We turned the pumps off early in October. We were running the pumps quite a bit this year because we had essentially no rain. So we ran the pumps to keep the lake level high. Start of October, we basically turned those off. Lake starts coming down. We won't force drain it until October 31st is when we'll actually start actively lowering the lake. So we're right in the zone. I think we had officially 0 days out of range on the high side. I don't think we had any on the low side either. So I will get the report. Not a whole lot of rain, so the high side wasn't a problem, and the pumps were able to keep the lake level where it needed to be. So it was pretty stable this year.
Are we still targeting a lower drawdown this year? No?
No, I think that was just up for discussion, but it'll
Okay.
probably be,
Yeah.
if that happens, it'll probably be next year or the year after. Just, I think we were just discussing it for future.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think everything is pretty much on track there. We'd have lake drawdown start on the 31st. That's the active drawdown. Docks usually come out in November. Last year it was out by the 15th. So I think we're pretty good there. I don't have any complaints from the village documented that have come in. I don't know if you guys had anything specific. So I think we're good there. I did mention it, or Rob mentioned it last time. You know, last year we had like a bunch of days where the lake level was high, right? We got a ton of rain and it like shot over, right? And it was up for like a week. We were actively trying to drain it. Remember the road flooded over there? It was like a big mess. We do have something now that runs that like is looking at the weather forecast and trying to send us a notification if it looks like the lake is going to go over based on the predicted rain. So we didn't get an opportunity to see it in action this year because we didn't have the lake level high and a bunch of rain coming, but hopefully we don't run into that situation again. Or at least we would be doing it consciously by not taking action. Okay, key dates. Again, I kind of went through them already. We'll skip November meetings. With fish stocking, we'll talk about it in a second, but usually that happens on October 30th time. I've been trying to get the council to do a summary in October. I don't know if I'm going to get to that this year, or maybe I'll try and get in there in November, just kind of outline some of the stuff that we did. The drawdown will begin on the 31st. With the target of the lake being at the winter level by December 1st, which usually is no problem. We can draw down the lake fairly easily. And that's pretty much it. All right. Continuing business. Bird count, we don't have to talk about that. I don't have anything to talk about. We have the bird count done. Obviously, we're not doing that now. So let's talk about fish stocking. We got money approved.
Everything is rolling. After I got the email with the approval, contacted the Imlay Fish Farm. I had already initiated conversation with them prior to last meeting.
There's one right here.
They said they will have our fish at the end of the month, and then they'll notify me when the fish are available, and then they will.
What did we put in? $2,500 of walleye?
Walleye, yep. Second 2-year cycle of that, and then they'll reevaluate for us.
Perfect.
Everything he said kind of paralleled what I was told in terms of what the intent with choosing that species is. You know, it's like our lake can't sustain the population of walleye on its own, so that's why we have to undertake the stocking. You know, so it was good to hear, like I got the same information from 2 places. That's always nice. But, the Inlay City people have been great. They just said they don't currently have them in stock, but they anticipate the end of the month. I'm gonna make sure, I missed it last time, I'm gonna make sure I take a day off work, I wanna see that process, I wanna see how they put those in there.
While we're on the fish stocking thing, I kind of want to talk about this fish habitat thing,
Yeah.
fish habitats
So-
in general, just real quick, because we had kicked around the can on this a couple times. I think I do think we had some money in the budget for it. This is certainly not what we did last time, but I'm open to suggestions. I guess, I don't know what you guys were able to talk about last time, but let's have a conversation about whatever this is.
So in the conversation I had about the stocking, the last thing they suggested after looking at like, our lake visual photos, things like that, surveys of it, they were very concerned with, as you remember our conversation, was that like large percentage of our lake has seawall. So they're concerned about loss of habitat for breeding areas and things like that. And then also, they were concerned about our harvesting technique in terms of like some of the areas that the fish do need for breeding areas, and some of the prey fish actually use that to hide, to feed. But they suggested this fish stick program. These, I am familiar with these, that Jerry, on a personal level, I'm familiar with these. Like, these, from my understanding, these are almost individual fish habitat. Like, I know some ice fishermen, not on our lake, but some people I associate with that live on inland lakes, they put these in their fish hole, like people that spear pike and the people that panfish in the winter, they'll drop these in their hole in the winter and then every year go back to create these artificial habitats. Or I know some people, like Jerry wrote down here, they put them under their docks to attach. I will be glad to reach out to the DNR people I talked to, where they initiated that fish stick program, which was more of a wide scale habitat development. I will ask them if they have any experience with these smaller, kind of more
Yeah,
individualized.
the last time that we had, my understanding, because I had sent you the permit or
Yep.
something, we got a permit and then they built some kind of structures
Correct.
and they dropped them in like 6
You
different
sent me a
locations.
map too, and
Yeah.
then I went out.
They're gone, like. you
They're
can see.
gone. Like,
Yeah.
I even have a fish camera that I use in the
Yeah.
winter. I dropped that down there. I could not
Yeah.
find.
Yeah, we
any
looked for
remnants
them a
of
couple
those.
years ago,
Mhm.
but like that program, and they probably lasted a handful of years, or wooden structures.
Because those were like, the map you said, those were in like, those were not necessarily near
They're not
the
the
shore.
shore.
Because like when they were talking to me about this fish stick program, they said we would have to identify areas that did not have the seawall.
Which is
and we
almost
would-
none.
Right, down by the island by Benstein, I think there's some. There's a few people on the lake don't have a seawall, you'd have to get permission, but that's what they were saying, that you would target those areas. I'm not specifically sure why they would target the non-seawall areas, but, that's where the conversation left off with me, because what they recommended is like not stocking every year. They said like a 2-year cycle, and then that's where it dawned on me, where my conversation led in, well, what can we do in the years we're not stocking to help? And that's where he brought out this idea of like this fish stick program. And I'm willing in this off stocking cycle to really invest in a deeper conversation of what that is, and then like I think we could really go for that.
I was looking into these as well, and they use, it's similar to what your water lines, the flexible pipe water lines. It's, no, the, like in-house, like in your,
Oh, really?
yeah, PEX, yeah.
Pecs.
So it's similar material to PEX, so it's like a safer plastic in water, and some I was looking at, like they were talking about these L channels that you'll see at the middle picture for $154.99. Some were saying that L channel is like better for like laying eggs, like I don't know if they were just like trying to advertise their product or whatever. And then I don't know if this barrel or this bucket one is
I've never
just
seen
for,
that one.
No, yeah, that one I think is just for like like hiding space. But like they said, like the L channel was supposed to be something where they could actually even like lay eggs on it or something like that. And I forget what the number was, but it was like you needed a lot of these.
That's, I mean, those were, like I said, like a lot of people use those as like individual,
Yeah.
like to
so
attract, and then they fish over them. And
So-
some take them out every year.
I remember reading like per acre they wanted like it was something like 6 of these things or something like
Oh,
that.
man.
Yeah,
You'd
and
be running
but-
them over.
right.
Well, I
Well,
mean, you're
obviously
supposed to-
that wouldn't work.
yeah.
But
The ones we put in last time, right? You gotta, like, they were, you know, we put them in 15 feet of water or something like this. Where, I mean, there's still fish there, right? And it's below props, right? Plenty of clearance for props and stuff like this. So I think, I mean, I don't think we're gonna solve it today.
No.
But we have money set aside for board projects. This is one of the ones that we talked about doing, and it's also something that we could alternate with the fish stocking budget, right? Which we usually carry 2,500 for that. We're probably not gonna do it next year. So like in the spring, I think we can consider what does this look like, right?
I will take, right, I've got nothing but time, not enough time to be the chair, but, now that when we get the fish in the water, like I'll work, I'll take that project on.
and I've been doing research about that too, so I can
Yeah,
help
that'd be
with that.
great.
Yeah.
Maybe
This
we
is,
can-
by the way, this is the first of 10 pages.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate it.
And
I know-
it's
I know
like,
some
I couldn't
people that,
believe the
like, every
price of
year-
these things.
Now, we have like, not many people have natural Christmas trees, but when I grew up, we would go to Houghton Lake every year, and we would purposely take our Christmas tree with us
Yeah, yeah.
and
Throw it in there.
cut a hole and throw the Christmas tree down there and then fish over it, you know, because it would have, because like a lot of times, like the little fish hide in there, like to protect, and then you catch them, but
Yeah.
it seems kind of mean. Yeah,
Don't tell them.
no, I don't do that.
Yeah, they degrade.
I have a
too
fake
fast
tree.
now.
I have a fake
It
tree.
used to be an idea to put Christmas trees for fish structure, but it's a soft wood and degrades.
Just
too
degrades.
fast.
Yeah,
Turned into
The,
muck.
Artificial structures obviously never degrade, you still need a permit for them.
yeah.
And you put them in deeper water. And then the Fish Sticks program is where you basically have a full-on tree that's anchored to the shoreline that sticks out into the water.
That's what
The
it looked
reason why
like.
they don't like hardened seawalls, it's very difficult to anchor a full tree. And they try to incorporate it with the natural shoreline landscape. I could talk with my group, we have a couple of shoreline specialists that.
That'd be great.
Design natural shoreline and stuff like that.
Because the DNR said they piloted some of these fish sticks in some local
Yeah,
lakes.
We've worked with them on that. We've worked with Eric Elgin from NSU Extension for the Fish Sticks program. We actually have a project that's implementing a very large-scale fish sticks over on the west side of the state. But I'll talk to Cole about it.
I'd love to learn more about it,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and like I
It's
said,
good to know you've had, like, because, like I said, they just gave me an initial conversation, and we turned right back to the fish stock.
yeah,
So,
there's not a whole lot of natural shoreline on the lake,
No,
right?
and
we're
that
gonna
was
be
a
like, oh,
concern
let's
they
take
had
this tree, and
for
I've seen
habitat
pictures
for
of it.
fish to spawn and breed and
Yeah.
things like that, so.
Yeah. I think if we could, like I said, what they did last time was they dropped structures in those specific locations that were like 15 feet deep or whatever. I don't know, if they did 6 of them, it was all permitted, it's there. But it just, you know, it was
They're not there
20, it was
now.
20 years
I
ago, they're
couldn't
gone,
find them.
right? So I think,
Find out about this thing about put them under the dock, okay?
yeah,
Is there anything, everybody's got a dock, you know?
yeah,
In a month, mine won't have any water, so.
yeah.
Huh?
In a month, my dock won't have any
Well,
water.
it'll be
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the spring, he promised, he
Yeah.
promised. But
Yeah, I
But we
propose
want native plants. Does anybody know? If you plant native plants underneath the dock, you don't even have to pull it out. And it provides all the hiding places for the natives, for the fishies.
I'm gonna learn a lot about fish sticks.
Okay.
Interesting name.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep moving, plant control invasive species, I think we beat that one.
Yep.
We're good there. Harvester discussion, I think we'll follow up with some plan. I actually don't, harvester's still in the water, I think.
Saw it the other day.
Still in there.
No, it's in the parking lot.
Did they pull it
Oh,
out?
they
I pulled it out, I didn't see it.
Okay, they
I was
just
on the
pulled it
water
out
this
then. It
weekend.
usually comes out around this time, so.
By the way,
They
there's
ran
a
it
video
just
you
yesterday,
sent.
I believe.
You like that? Thank you, thank you.
So that's there. I'll try and accumulate the harvester hours. I didn't do that yet, although I do know it was down. But certainly last year, there was a lot more to be had by running the harvester more. I don't know that we ran it as much as we wanted to this year since it went down, but we got to try and get a plan probably in the spring and make sure that we're gonna maximize the usage and do some coordinated efforts here. Lake enforcement issues.
Buoys are out.
The buoys are out?
Buoys are out.
Buoys are out.
Should we approach them and go crazy?
Yeah, can't wait. It's gonna lay down.
Lawless nature.
I gotta drop my wakeboard boat back in and just peel out onto the bridge.
It's gonna go right through my bay.
Septic field update. All right, you had something on this.
Yeah.
Let's
So I
talk
spoke
about
to
it.
the village, about, having we only had that one, the concern was we only had that one contractor and, so that's a misconception. So we can use other contractors. They have to, as long as they're licensed and insured, and they have the certification through Oakland County, you can use any contractor that has that, the certifications through Oakland County and licensed and insured.
Yeah.
The reason we have one is just, that's the one that our engineer picked. So
That was
that's,
my gut feeling.
and I didn't ask this, but I thought about it after. I don't know if we would be able to set up, because I'm guessing this contractor is working with the city directly for that 10-year span of spacing out your payments,
For SAD.
Yeah, the SAD. I would assume that if we wanted to do something like that with a different contractor.
I don't think
we'd have to-
I don't think the SAD has anything to do with the contract itself.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, it's a bond for the village that they take, that you take that goes against your taxes. It doesn't have to do with the contract. The contractor is not getting paid.
Yeah, he's gonna get paid.
They got paid.
immediately.
No, I know, I just didn't know, if the village and this contractor have an agreement,
No.
I don't know, but I would be
Oh.
surprised if I say.
Oh, okay.
Well, I would say the contractor that did it, just from my own experience, they did a really good job, and they were in and out, they didn't mess anything up, and it was, very easy to schedule. I mean, they're good, right? I think the village has them because they have a good reputation of cracking this work out and not
That makes
causing
sense.
village headaches.
Well, and they're able to service a large population
Yeah.
in a short amount of time.
And then, they also have a list of maybe 5 electricians that they've recommended for the electrical work of it. I just took the first one off that list. That guy was awesome, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, they're known quantities. I think makes it easy.
Yeah.
But I don't know that, I wasn't under the impression you had to use one specific
I
person.
was.
I was
Well, I
gonna
didn't know for
say,
the
I
SAD.
was.
mean,
I
You were.
I actually
Craig
called and thought
Minnelli
to
was.
use a different person, and I was vehemently told, no, this is the only one we are allowed to use.
Mm.
So,
Well, when I spoke to, I believe it was Paige,
yeah.
she told me as long as you're licensed and insured and they have the requirements through Oakland County, you can hire any contractor that has the certification.
And then WRC,
Listed up.
the Water Resource
It would.
Commission also has to have on their approved contract list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It would help with SAD if the contract price was 7,000 rather than
20.
20.
So I'll do something too, bring my comment ahead. So something they did also with septic field updates and with those contractors is we actually purchased 15 more grinder pumps. We actually house them over with Commerce over there. They have free housing. We get a little bit of a deal on it. Don't have to pay for any shaping. So they buy a truckload. I think it was 59 for a truckload. And then whatever we buy, we can take in on them. And they don't charge us to store them, anything like that too. And that contractor, which is C&E Contracting, also works with Commerce. It seems to be the guy in the area who's in and out. He's cleared access to the storage yard. The property has the electricians and stuff. So one of the things was this guy's just incorporated himself into the community so well that the work flows, and so it's kind of like he's just the go-to. So maybe the impression was made, an overemphasis on, yes, you need to use this guy because he is the guy that
Yeah.
does it. That could have been a misunderstanding. But, yeah, C&E, the contracts have been doing for a long time. We order more grinder pumps to say approved, because we do have people hooking up. We do have a storage yard. He's part of it. He works well with Mike Powell over there in engineering, so. But yes, you can get a different contractor if he meets all the qualifications.
Is that something that we should pursue and say, get a few options out there to people, you know, and get competitive bidding going? It's good for everybody.
So Commerce is looking right now for next year, is to finding other places to buy like grinder pumps from.
Sure.
Just because, I mean, everything's been just going up and up.
Yeah.
Where we've been buying our pumps from for years, every year, they've held prices for us. Meanwhile, everyone else has just skyrocketed.
Hmm.
So being able to get your, hooked up to your septic, every house, every property is different too.
Yeah.
Because of where it's located and whatnot.
Right.
But being able to keep at least this portion of it under control. Because the idea is that the village buys them, we store them, we stock them, so they're there at this price point for people. But I think it was 7 are left in stock, and 3 or 4 of them are already allocated to a project. So we need to buy them again before the price goes up.
Gotcha.
But Commerce is looking into it too, because kind of piggyback on there, too, so we can get the benefit of a larger community buying this equipment, even though, because we're not buying, 60, 100 at a time.
Correct.
We're buying what we
We're not
need.
that scale. That makes sense.
So just a little extra part for the septic field.
Yeah.
How much are the grinder pumps, do we know?
15 of them are gonna cost us $72,900.
What?
15 of them are 72 grand.
So that sounds about right. It was even when I did mine a few years ago. So, because that works down to be what? What was the cost? 75?
72,000.
About $4,900.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got mine, they were like 3,500.
I was gonna say, I think I got mine around 3 and change.
Yeah, I would say the just, don't quote any of this. I'll just give you my own costs that we spent, okay? The pump itself was just over 3,000, it was $3,340. The installation was 2,100, right? So like and the other stuff is, okay, the valve was 450, right? A pressure tap was 650. The Commerce Township capital charge, $4,896. Who knows what that is, right? It's
Yeah,
just the
sure.
Commerce charge. Like the physical contractor, like the grinder pump installation was $2,100 plus materials and permits, right? All these things add up though, because there was a sewer fee, a bonding cost fee, an attorney fee, a restoration fee, a permit, an Oakland inspection fee. Yeah, that adds up to like over 16 grand.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't remember what my breakdown was. I know I paid about 15
Yeah.
and something for mine, and it's all based on distance from the road and things
That's
like
right,
that.
16,778, but I don't think that
I don't
the
think-
overwhelming cost was
I don't
not
think much.
the dollar amount to the person that does the installation.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know that you're gonna dodge the 4,896 Commerce Township capital charge, whatever
Yeah,
that is.
whatever.
Doesn't matter what contractor you get.
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So, that's just my own assessment, so. Anyway, everybody can use whoever they want. Was there anything else on septic field stuff? You just came in with something, you handed him?
That was all I had.
Okay. All right, last thing, muck removal. I don't know if there's any discussion on that. There's actually, I meant to get information. Actually, I emailed them. There was a whole project
I'd love to get rid of muck.
which, on Lake Sherwood, up on the North Canal of Lake
Yeah.
Sherwood,
Yeah.
where they laid out a huge thing of like, basically, if you're thinking of a huge thing of like hay, and they put like this, like, looked like a netting material down, they pumped a ton of muck out of that lake.
Whoa, how were they able to do that? Because when I first moved here,
It must be under,
They
some-
said I
it's
could
under some
not-
permit.
Work on Lake Sherwood.
It's under some and it's in a side yard, just.
They
in the
got-
I'd
canal.
love to get my
They got a
muck
dredging
house
permit.
full of muck.
For the canal.
Yeah.
So it's the north, it's the Wahoo River that
Yep.
comes in, and it just fills that canal area with sediment. So every 5 to 10 years, they dredge it out. And.
But it's all on the shore, drying out now. They pumped it all out onto property on like this.
They had an empty property, and that's how they're supposed to do it, so it's a giant dewatering bag
Mhm.
that they pump the sediment into, and they have to build up the land with, like I said, it's usually stone, weeds, hay, organics, and then they put the dewatering bag on it on a level surface, they pump it. This dewatering bag is probably the size of this room.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
And it basically traps the sediment, all the water rushes back, it flows through the rocks and stuff, and it free when it goes back into the canal. Requires a permit, it's pretty pricey, as you can imagine, with just the work involved, it's a hydraulic pump, but.
This is Middle Street?
No, Lake Sherwood.
Lake Sherwood.
Because
Lake Sherwood,
I
so
called- I
it's
called-
all out and it's laying, like, it's an empty lot, and it's got, it's, I would say, saying as big as this room is an understatement.
Yeah,
It's huge.
Yeah.
And, but they pumped out a ridiculous amount of muck that's sitting there, basically drying out now, and then I'm assuming they're gonna go take it somewhere?
Yep, you have to take it to a proper disposal site landfill, depending, usually with those, you have to test the sediment and stuff to make sure there's no contaminants. Depending on that, it determines the level of landfill, like, if it's a level 1, level 2.
A bunch of heavy metal in it.
By the contractor. Typically, they let it dry out like all winter long, I think, and take it in the spring, depending on the project. And, for reference, that canal area, I don't know how large an area they did, it was about 1 foot deep with muck and around like 5 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how my canals, my neighbors say my canal's like 6 feet deep, but it's like, it's just full of muck.
Yeah, so that's what they pump out. And,
Yeah.
It requires a permit, they're a little bit harder to come by the permits for like lake stuff. Canals are a little bit easier to get permits for. The drain commissioner's office or the water resources, they get permits all the time for the drain.
For the record, they told me I could hand remove as much as I want.
Without a
That's-
permit.
Who told you that?
I called the office at the state of Michigan, whoever is in charge of that, because I found a company in Ohio that brings a raft out and pumps it out. I was like, oh, that'd be
Surprised
cool.
they told
And they said no, and they said, well, you
Because you're
can
not allowed
shovel
to.
it out. I'm like, really?
Interesting.
But you can't walk in it to shovel it out because you sink, so
Yeah, yeah.
never done it.
I'm a little surprised they told you that, because that's usually any disturbing of sediments or removal of sediment from lakes is.
Permit.
You need a permit.
Anyway, so that thing, I would just say, I had emailed, people on the Lake Sherwood has a committee or whatever to try and find out, like, who coordinated that and what company was it and how did the permitting work and whatever. Yeah, I think, it's the first time I've seen it done, but I guess, like, it's an option. That would be it, when we talk about, like, special assessment districts and stuff like that.
Big time.
The way that would work in my mind is, if we have residents that were concerned about the area in front of their house, we could do a look to try and do a special assessment district. They're gonna pay, right? You're gonna pay for it. But
Sure.
you could potentially do a special assessment district or something for the houses that are affected, to offset it over 10 years or something like this, right?
Typically, how long would that last if you suck the muck out of there?
Well, it depends on the.
The source of the muck.
characteristics, yeah.
I
So
was gonna
like-
say,
Lake Sherwood,
hard.
that canal, it's a river that has high suspended sediment and it settles, so it's just constantly pumping, so over 5-10 years. Lakes usually last a little bit longer, just because it's more about, it just kind of sloughs in, and then plant material that dies off and
Leaves.
adds to it. I will say, cost estimate, it's very costly, especially if you're talking about lake application for this
Mhm.
canal. We did an assessment for a lake that was about 50 acres in size, just to do around the shoreline, through the docks and stuff, and it was about $2 million.
Muck's not so bad.
No, I think for us, it would be like things you'd offer for targeted areas where it's like a little offshoot of the lake on the north side, or we
Yeah,
get
so-
complaints about the canal on the lake, it has the same problem.
For
but-
those operations, you range anywhere from $50 to $80 a cubic yard of removable.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, sometimes it's kind of hard to visualize
It's
what
like
it's
a new-
Yeah.
but it's
new
not
business.
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
cubic yard of muck in an area is.
Nothing.
Is not much, especially when you're looking at, $50 to $80. But that's just,
Yeah. Anyway, it was interesting, maybe something to think about for the spring. It was the first time I had seen it. It's quite the sight, though, because it's all built up, like you said, it looks like all hay and stuff, and like a huge bag, and it's just a ton of muck. It's on River's Edge.
Take a look at that.
It's on River's Edge.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up, I wanna check that out.
It's on River's Edge Drive, private road, but don't tell them I told you.
I don't, if you don't mind me asking, since you are here on this topic, I know we've had a discussion a couple times this year where we discussed, the activities that would happen during the Greenway drain where it was dredged. Were you a part of that at this time? Because I'm pretty
I don't
sure it was
know.
dredged in 2021.
Okay. I could talk to my boss about it.
Maybe there's
I
some
don't-
info that you
yeah.
guys had about that?
I can look into it. Not to my knowledge, involved with that. And the Sherwood project, we work out there and as a consultant. and
Sure.
I knew of the dredging and kept up with it. We didn't design the dredging.
Got it, okay.
We've done assessments for those types of projects to just give a rough cost estimate to communities, based on the knowledge we have. But.
Do you know,
yeah,
do you know what company did the dredging there, by any chance?
I could get that, I don't know off the top of my head, but
Okay.
I have it in my file. I
Okay.
can give it to you. There's several companies that do it nowadays, dredging, hydraulic, I know, like Savin Lake Services, there's a few other companies that are advertising dredging. That's just one form, the hydraulic dredging, there's also just the physical, they bring an excavator, carpenter shoreline, they just scoop out shoreline areas. I think that form of dredging is a little cheaper than the hydraulic stuff. I don't know how far it goes.
Okay, cool. All right, so future business open items, anybody have anything there they want to talk about? Otherwise, we'll get to the liaison reports.
We're talking about ground pumps. Police department purchased new rifles and shotguns. Chief Silbeck did a great job on getting us good pricing. Blew everyone else out of the water, so good to him. Commerce wants to potentially put on the ballot next year, installing these, they described it as artery line walking paths throughout all of Commerce. The idea is they're trying to connect like the Wixom to Airline Street Path, and then like our walk path that goes through Claremont Park, whatnot. Trying to ultimately get all that connected so the whole entire community can become a walking community. So you go from like all the way Union Lake Road, all the way down to Wixom, all the way down to the airline trail, all in one go. It's going to be done in stages. Their first stage was a big thing they put out was like putting down a walking path all the way down Welch Road. So at least getting the big highway, if you would, the arteries they're called, sections in place. That way then we can branch off into the communities, to the local trails themselves, and ultimately connect all the community together. So
Any discussion on Commerce here? Like Commerce Road coming up, we have the walkway that comes down from here, it turns over, and then we got the good one across Glengarry, but like that turn around Commerce, it just.
yeah, like the South Commerce.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what we want. Pam actually did a good job bringing it up to Commerce. Oakland County says no. So the easiest thing would put like 3 more feet of asphalt down on the side of the road,
Yeah.
and then that'd be your walking path too.
Yeah.
It's an issue with the county just saying no. One of the reasons like the bends around South Commerce, why it's all paved there too, and then it's all hashtag, and then the walking path is on the far side. That's the only way that we could get the county to allow us to even get that done. With the clear separation, the water drainage, it's all engineered, and the pathway is X number of feet away from the actual roadway itself. So, yeah, that seems like the easiest way to do it is just extend it into using the road right away, make that the walking path. It connects all the way up through. It would go all the way, connect up to, here on Glengarry.
Well, yeah,
But,
because there's a sidewalk on South Commerce by like St. Matthews, and then it stops there.
Yeah.
And then there's no sidewalk until around those crazy curves, which, if
Those are
I
the hardest
remember correctly, didn't somebody get hit on a bike on South Commerce on one of those curves?
I got T-bone right there.
Yeah. Well, and so those curves, I mean, pretty dangerous to be walking or riding a bike around those, and then it picks up right after, or right where you're talking about. So yeah, that would be nice to have a sidewalk on that.
Is we can connect everything without
Yeah.
crossing over. So that is, in the beginning it'd be just the big sections put into, and then later they would connect those little sidewalks, little sections where they have sidewalks for 150 feet that go nowhere. Because it would slowly hook that up, and then even eventually getting to go down Oakley Park, because you go in front of the Richardson Center, it's got a nice little pathway right now that just goes nowhere. So trying to get all these little sections ultimately hooked up to make it make a pathway system.
Yeah.
Is their plan. So they're asking potentially to get enough interest. They did surveys, they brought data and all that population areas where they would put them. Had a nice little presentation by Larry Gray. But they're looking into asking for a 0.5% increase in the millage to help cover this cost. And it'd be a 10-year project. They bond out over 3 years. It'd take a couple of years to get it done as well. So, they're asking for
But the
more
county
money.
said no on South Commerce?
Oh, yeah, South Commerce, yeah. So that's something we brought up, like that's something the village would really like. If you could say, yeah, we can do this project, maybe not in this first round, but in the next step or something, that'd be a lot of ammunition. We could go to the community, but hey, this is something we would benefit from directly, instead of thinking of the larger community too. So,
And they said no, they didn't say why?
well, I said, because the county doesn't approve that. It's been looked at before.
Right, but the county didn't say why, and they didn't approve it?
Well, I don't want to maintain it,
Oh.
or plow it, or anything like that, I'm sure.
Oh, because that's not on the residents?
Well, so that's South Commons Road, major roadway.
I know, but if it's on, obviously the sidewalks would have to go across property.
Well, the discussion there, Gary was saying is just even like just extending the edge of the roadway, like just paving it that way. It's not necessarily having a whole entire sidewalk, you know, like. 8
Just
feet.
like the sub has, off of South Commerce.
Yeah, like off Shankin, we had that little path, but that was
Yeah.
our road and that was a minor road. A little bit different, but this is something that if you hear about it, it's gonna be a discussion point that's gonna come up. Commerce sound like they were very enthusiastic about it, especially about feeding foot traffic or bike traffic into their new downtown, part of that, which is rapidly being developed. I think that's the idea, is connecting, Wixom all the way down to the downtown and then spreading out through all the actual residential areas and communities and connecting to the airline trail, which goes, Port Huron to Kalamazoo now, something like that.
Yeah.
So that was a big conversation, a great presentation, and it's not the last time you're gonna hear about it.
Good.
So, let's go, Jeff.
Well, that sounds like something the planning commission could get its teeth into, but unfortunately, we didn't meet, so.
Okay. Good download from the planning commission
Pretty good, eh?
for the use. Any additional comments from the board? All right, so with that, we adjourn not just for the day, but for the calendar year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Very good.